Before this pandemic, there was another pandemic. It was called the Spanish flu, 1918. It lasted until 1920 or thereabouts. And this is a story about a Chicago family. I happen to be related to one branch of that family. It's the Cherek Mishpacha. Many people in the community know Alfie Cherek and his brother, Reb Shlomo Cherek, and know the Mishpacha. Happen to be related to Eli Cherek, that's Alfie's wife, through the Stender Mishpacha, Lori's family, my family. And this is a story about what happened in St. Louis, a story that was published just a few months ago in Ami magazine by our cousin Rivki Cherek. It's a story about a little boy named Billy, Bill Cherek, born in St. Louis, Missouri on the 7th day of Pesach in 1915, named for his paternal grandfather, one of the 7 children born to Saul and Liba Cherek, who had arrived on these shores from Ireland in 1906 and had settled in St. Louis. Spanish influenza epidemic hit 1918. Bill Cherek was 3 years old, and he fell ill with the Spanish flu. He was critically ill. The parents called the doctor, who came on Friday night to their home. And when the doctor arrived and checked the little boy, he realized that there was nothing he could do to help him. As he was walking out of the house, he saw that there were Shabbos candles lit in the home. And he said to the family members who were there, "I see that God is in this house. He is the only one who can save your son right now." And he left. So Saul and Liba added a name. They renamed their son. Instead of Zev, Chaim Zev. And at that time, Liba Cherek made a Neder. She promised that if her son would live, she would enroll him in Cheder a year early at 4 years old instead of at 5. A miracle happened. He survived. After Pesach the following year, when Bill turned 4, his mother took him to the Malamed. "What is your child doing here?" he questioned her. Not only was he too young, but he was also quite small due to the after effects of the flu. She proceeded to explain that she had made a neder when he was sick and that the Rebbe agreed to take him. So the Rebbe was Rabbi Sirkin, Zichrono Livracha. He sat down with this 4-year-old boy next to all the 6-year-olds, and he started learning with him. Bill Cherek learned with Rabbi Sirkin from 4 years old until he was 18. As a teenager, writes Rivki Cherek, my grandfather would learn with Rabbi Sirkin for 5 hours a day, 1 hour before public school and 4 hours in the evening. One night his father came to pick him up because there was a raging blizzard outside. And when he arrived, he asked the Rebbe, "Do you see what's going on outside?" Rabbi Sirkin replied, "When your son and I are together learning, we don't know what's going on in the world." Well, Bill Cherek went on to get married and raise a family. He lived in St. Louis throughout his life. And he was a very prominent balabus, a prominent lay leader there. He was one of the founders of the St. Louis Young Israel. He was the Midwest president of the National Council of Young Israel. He was a signatory to a 1942 charter of the H.F. Epstein Hebrew Academy, one of the first Jewish day schools outside of New York. And he did all of this because of a neder that his mother made, that if he would survive, she would send him for learning. And as the coronavirus hit, what was once a small story from a childhood 100 years ago came alive again. Indeed, the Cherek Mishpacha, the descendants of this individual, Bill Cherek, are Shomrei Torah u'mitzvot. The actions of one person, a mother, and her love for her son, and the neder that she took, caused a whole chain reaction. And we, when we gather for Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah through Yom Kippur, are engaged in a similar activity of chain reaction. Let me explain to you what I mean. Maimonides, the Rambam, in his Laws of Tshuva, points out that one should have in mind during this period of the year how much hangs in the balance in their actions. Sarich kol adam sheyira atzma kol hashana kula kilu chetzio zaka v'chetzio chayav. A person should see themselves the whole year long as if they are half innocent, half guilty, half with merits and half with its opposite. V'chein kol olam chetzio zaka v'chetzio chayav. Should see that the whole world is also exactly balanced in half. Chata chet echad. A person sees that if I do one sin now, harei hichriya et atzmo v'et kol ha'olam kulu l'kaf chova. If I do one thing wrong now, I could turn the whole world, God forbid, to the side of the scale, tip the scales to one of guilt and cause destruction. Asa mitzvah achat, harehi chriyad atzma v'kol ha'olam kulo l'kav zchut, v'garam lo v'lahem tshua v'hatzala. If a person will do one mitzvah, they should imagine and vision for themselves that they are actually going to be overturning everything to the side that is actually weighing down the side of the scales of merit and causing salvation and rescue. Shenemar v'tzadik yisod olam. That's what the verse means. That tzadik is the source or the foundation of the world. Zeshet tzadak, the one who functioned in a manner of righteousness. Hichriya et kol haolam lizchut v'hitzilo. It caused the entire world to be, as it were, decided for merit and to save it. Therefore, the meaning of the Jewish people is lahar bot b'tzedakah v'masim tovim, to do extra acts of tzedakah and good deeds, v'lasok b'mitzvot, and to do extra mitzvot, to be engaged with mitzvot, me'rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom HaKippurim yetem mikol Hashanah, more so between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur than the rest of the year. And the idea here is that we are now in the head of the year where everything for the year ahead is decided. That's what we believe, that somehow in the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu works, which we do not understand, even less so now than ever before, probably at least the last few months. We all have our own issues, but globally speaking. But we understand from the Rambam, as a matter of practice, a matter of halacha, that what we do matters. That the things that we do now have a cascading effect toward others. I was told today, I don't know if it's accurate. I know it was accurate last week. There are terrible fires in the western United States. How many hundreds and thousands of miles away is it? But you know that it was obscuring the sun. Some were saying today it was still obscuring the sun. I'm not sure if it was clouds or not. I couldn't tell myself. But the idea that the smoke from somewhere else in a faraway state is going to waft over and impact me in Illinois. Everyone is interrelated. Everyone is connected. And our actions now, our actions these 10 days and our actions generally as Jews, we believe, have an intergenerational impact. Ask your father and he will tell you, your elders, and they will say to you, speak it to you. These words we read today in the Torah portion of Ha'azinu, Rabbi Soloveitchik reminds us in his commentary on the Torah, is an exact playing out of the concept of Chazal that the Ramban was so fond of quoting, Maseh Avot Siman Labanim. The actions of the forefathers are a guidepost for their children. When we are davening now, the Yizkar we will recite, and quite frankly, all of our davening over the period of the Yom Noraim, and especially in Yom Kippurim, whether we're going to be Baheichal, in the sanctuary, whether we'll be Bashetach, out in the field in a tent, whether we'll be Babayit in our own homes. Know this. The invocation of the day, and in fact the entirety of the day, is framed by the words B'yeshiva Shemal, B'yeshiva Shemata, the assembly on high and the assembly down below. We're the assembly down below. But we have, as it were, the strongest connection to the other world, to the people who we have known and loved, who have left the world, who in so many cases set down a path for us that hopefully we are able to live up to and aspire to, and whose legacies we carry forward. The Gemara asks the question rhetorically, when the angels wanted to ask God, how is it that the Jewish people don't sing a nice, beautiful Hallel, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim? Hashem answered them, Afshar Melech Yoshev Kisei Din. Could it be the king is sitting on the seat throne of judgment? V'sifrei Chaim, v'sifrei Meitim, betuchim lefanav Yisrael Omrim Shira. The books of the living and the books of the dead are open, and the Jewish people are going to sing a Hallel song of jubilation. Rav Soloveitchik in his Machzer explains that this means the books of the living, the books of the dead, refers not to where people will be inscribed, but to where people live presently. Those who live in this world and those who have passed on from this world, the books open up again. And indeed, the legacy of those who have passed away from this world are also revisited. How could that be? They're no longer in the world, but their descendants are still in the world. But those who are Sadi Yizker for them are still in the world. I want to submit to you that even if you'll be home for all of Yontif, even if you will be going to a minyan, which unfortunately this year will be a condensed time frame, consider that there will be time that you're not actually davening. What does one do during that period of time? This is a perfect year to open up the book of Yonah and to learn through Sefer Yonah, the story of what happened to Jonah. This is a perfect year to open, if you have it in your home, you could print it between now and Yontif, the books of the Rambam, the Laws of Tshuva, 10 chapters. You can find English translations online, various websites. It's a great time, if you don't own any specific Sfarim about Yom HaKippurim, to get some. Not to let the day pass, so we're so close to Hashem, and where, from a halachic vantage point, we have such a connection to our Judaism and our tefillah that we should let it go by the wayside. A person should recite extra Tehillim on Yom HaKippurim, and this year more than most. I mentioned today during the Divrei Chizuk Shabbos Shuvah presentation this afternoon that we need to have in mind our brothers and our sisters around the world, but especially in Medinat Israel. How many of them who planned to go to shul so recently, as earlier this week, now the plans have been made much more murky and much more challenging. And we need to have them in mind also in our tefillot, what's going on in Medinat Israel and Eretz Israel. And we should also see that within the prayers is the beautiful prayer of Yonah himself, where among other things, Yonah from inside the fish, or maybe afterward looking back, depending on how one understands this section, the second chapter, says, "V'hitatef halai nafshi et Hashem zacharti, v'tavoi lecha tefilati heichal kodshecha." When my soul was faint within me, within myself, my spirit is fainting away within me, I think of Hashem. And my prayer comes to you, it comes to your holy sanctuary, meaning even though I may be geographically far away, my soul feels connected. And indeed, just another verse later, "Va'ani b'kol toda es b'chalach asher nadarti ashalema yeshuata la'Hashem." And I, as for me, I plan on bringing you the offerings that I will bring that are of thanksgiving, that I will offer to you, that which I pledge to you, I will fulfill. And Hashem, you are the one who has my salvation in hand. When we will be thinking now during the Yizkor prayer, each person who will be reciting this evening with us or on Yom HaKippurim, to notice that we say that we're bli neder, we're going to give some tzedakah. Of course, we start the day with the kol nidrei, about all the ways in which we were not able to hold to various things that we committed to the past year. And yet, we are placed under oath by our forebears. Each and every time we recite Yizkor, we're reminded of this connection. And we're reminded of the ways in which we need to feel that we carry their legacy forward. Liba Cherik, the mother of Bill Cherik, was someone who said, I saw the hand of God in my life, and I can't live the same way in the future. And she ended up setting her little boy on a trajectory that has had generations and generations of people who have emanated from that one decision. What decisions can we make in the new year? Let's start now on Yom HaKippurim to think about it and to think about ways in which we'll make the day a day of connection to our Kadosh Baruch Hu, and we'll feel, as we've been saying each and every day, David, Hashem Ori V'yishi, God, you are my light and you are my salvation. Chazal teach, you are my light on Rosh Hashanah and you are my salvation on Yom HaKippurim. V'yeshuat Hashem Keheref Ein, the salvation coming from Hashem can itself be that which comes just in the blink of an eye. May we be zochet the same as well.